And of course, the referendum went off without a hitch and the new constitution has been adopted. Also, the economic outlook's also improving for Kenya, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is showing very good signs, and every indications are that the trend will continue to be upwards, and everybody is optimistic about what is likely to happen in the near future.
Well, Sam, how do other ratings agencies reflect the improvement we have seen in Kenya over the past year or two?
The rating agencies have posted a positive rating for the country because of the fundamentals that have changed both in politics and economic situation. The political risks is considered to be lowering due to the integration of the new constitution and also the coalition government that is in place. The economy is also beginning to show signs of improvement, and it is projected to continuously grow. These fundamentals are what are actually constituting to the renewed optimism about the country.
Well, just to put it in practical terms, what are the implications of this raising in the credit rating from B to B+? It really is that Kenya will be paying less for long-term borrowing going forward, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and it's an upgrade from the previous position of the B-, although it's still considered high risk. But the trend towards a better rating will enable the country to be able to borrow from the overseas market. You remember some time back before the post-election violence, the country was gearing to borrowing 300 million from the Eurobond market. But after the post-election violence, the country was downgraded, and therefore it would not have been profitable for the country to borrow from the market because it will have to pay very high rates. So this improvement will take the country towards being able to access credit from the international money markets at favorable rates.
Of course, it's not quite investment grade yet. What do you think it's going to take for Kenya to have an investment grade rating that would attract more investment to the country?
I think that the political risk for this country has been considered high, but we are expecting that once the necessary acts in the new constitutions are put in place, that will start to stabilize. It's a major factor in the rating matrix. Once that comes, and we're expecting that the elections of 2012 will show a more positive sign to the future. Once that is in place, the economic fundamentals, particularly in terms of the growing debt gap and also the microeconomic elements like taxation and monetary policy issues being put in place, all these factors should combine to see the country's position getting better.
Well, talk to us perhaps about the economic fundamentals, because of course we had the drought of last year, and that was a big setback for the country. You've recovered from that. We've seen the stock market rising by 40% plus so far this year. Looks like the economy is back on track. What sorts of growth figure are you looking for in Kenya this year? Because I've heard numbers of 5 to 6% bandied about.
There are several figures that have been put on the table, but I think the growth rate is expected to be somewhere about 6.2% to 6.5% based on the current economic performance. I know that the World Bank is projecting a growth rate of about 5%, but in between these figures we should be able to see a good indication of what it will be. The projection, if you look at the agricultural sector, if you look at the energy sector, if you look at consumer demand and the infrastructure spending, all these factors are actually geared towards improving the economic fundamentals of the country.
How about tourism though, because Kenya's economy is very dependent on tourism at this stage, and of course that's then dependent on economic recovery globally to draw in those tourist numbers. What's tourism looking like at this stage?
There has been an increase in the tourism numbers, and particularly now that the shilling had weakened against the dollar, the number of visitors who are coming to the country, I think, had shown up. The tourism products have also quite tremendously improved. The number of hotels in Nairobi particularly has gone up, and the bookings, as we see them, have actually gone overboard. Therefore, there's renewed interest in tourism numbers, and we expect that in the absence of any political issues, we expect that these numbers will continue throughout the new year.
Do you think power generation could be an impediment to growth in Kenya? Because we saw during the drought last year, because you're so reliant on hydropower, that's why the droughts had such devastating effects on the country. Is this something that's being addressed? Do you think it will be an impediment to future growth in Kenya?
There have been alternatives are being explored because too much reliance on hydroelectric power has given us challenges in the past. There are considerations to explore geothermal power, and there's even talk to see if there's a possibility of getting into nuclear energy. But what we know that there are also efforts to try and get wind power into place and increase the importation of power from neighboring countries like Tanzania and Uganda. So the overall equation of the energy factor is being addressed from different angles, and this should impact positively on the economic growth of the country.
Anyway, good news today coming from Sam and Pers with our rating upgrade. Sam, we have to leave it there. Thanks very much for your time.